This is the final video of our series. We'll be talking about piking or hip flexion. This one, again, doesn't fall into Dan John's broader categories. He does like the ab wheel. We're going to play around with it a little bit more deeply. Something like compression strength is a big part of gymnastics training, and I found as a lifter it was something I really neglected. So we're going to play around a little bit with a few different variations that work on bringing your knees closer to your chest using your abs and your hip flexors. Also just bracing. Alright, now talking a little bit about spine position, spine terminology. This could be helpful. Alright, so this would be flexion. I'm flexing here through my spine. So global flexion, so everything's collapsing like into the fetal position. This would be extension. I'm poking out my chest, I'm poking out my bum, everything's arching, I'm extending through my spine. This would be lateral flexion over to one side, lateral flexion over to the other side. Having a look from the side, that's what it'll look like. I'm a little teapot. Alright. This would be rotation. So my hips are going to keep pointing forward, but my shoulders are rotating. Most of that rotation is going to come from my thoracic spine, but it'll really come from the whole spine to some extent. We've had flexion, extension, lateral flexion, and rotation. Those are the major movements. When we do something like a press, we are preventing lateral flexion and rotation. We're bracing isometrically to stop that stuff from happening. You can see how there's a bit of a blend in athletic movements between that bracing and that transfer of force from the ground up into the upper body and actively flexing or rotating and actively contributing to the movements. Even for something like a jerk, where there's no twisting involved, I'm still bracing to prevent my back from overarching. Here, I'm demonstrating... what am I demonstrating? Hanging leg raise. So that's a toes to bar. I'm not very good at these because of my flexibility. It's more like an ankles to bar, so that's something I need to work on. An easier version there is just a straight hanging leg raise to 90 degrees. That's a bit of fun as well. A bit of ab work as well as a bit of shoulder work. And then an easier version again, now demonstrating with the tuck. That's a knee raise, hanging knee raise. Just to see that from another angle, we have hanging leg raise, which I'm almost turning into a bit of a front lever because of my poor flexibility, but you get the idea. Pulling the legs right up. So that's trying to be a toes to bar. And we have hanging leg raise. I'm going a little bit higher than 90 degrees there. Thought I'd challenge myself slightly. And then there's the bent knee version, which is a little bit easier. So with body weight exercises, we can create a longer lever, which makes things more challenging. Look, I got a nice swollen left ankle on that day. Happened to roll my ankle a few days before. Okay, this is an ab wheel. Pretty fun, pretty accessible, pretty easy. Thing to look out for here, posterior tilt with your pelvis. If you do not posterior tilt your pelvis when you're doing this, you will hurt your back. Ouch! That would hurt. Maintain the posterior tilt when you're doing your ab wheel. Gets hard towards the bottom. Really focus on squeezing with the abs for this. For all our ab exercises, you really want to focus on feeling your abs work hard. If you just get into position, it won't necessarily do the job. I just demonstrated a front support, which is like the top of a push-up. This one's a back support, which is self-explanatory. It's like an upside-down push-up, I guess. This is a side support. During the side support, I want to maintain depression with my scapula in order to stabilize through the shoulder. They're pretty straightforward. Demonstrate the same thing on the other side. Side support. And with the top leg. You can even wave your legs and arms around and make it a bit more challenging. As we start to get into crawls, they get even more fun, but it's a good base. So, we could be bracing across our bodies, or we can be bracing down one side. Sometimes this will be referred to as ipsilateral or contralateral. This is a major role for our abdominal muscles, is to prevent movement. So, I'm going to show you guys a dead bug, where I'm moving my left knee and my right arm away from the center of my body, and my core has to work hard to hold everything in position. When I say core, I just mean the abdominal muscles around my spine. So there's a lot of different things involved there. Core is a good shorthand. The stuff that keeps my hips and my rib cage from moving, keeps my spine from twisting, while there are forces playing on that, trying to move it out of position. That's what I mean by core. In this exercise, the dead bug, a very good basic. You see, now I'm doing it ipsilaterally, so on the same side. You can also do this actively. So before that was isometrically holding things in position. Now it's isotonic because I'm actively lifting up one side while I actively lower the other side. So there's a concentric and an eccentric component there. If you invert that pattern, we get something like here, which is called a bird dog. I was just showing not to twist your hips out to the side when you do your bird dog. You want to keep the foot facing towards the ground, keep the knee facing towards the ground. We'll start with just the hip extension and the knee extension out the back, and you're just bracing through your abs. As you get a bit better at that one, we can start to get a bit more advanced and add in the arms. We're aiming to keep the torso still, not to twist through the spine, just to brace nice and strong. You can lift the knees off and make that a bit more challenging again. And again, you can see how this starts to translate into things like crawls, where we'll really work the abs quite hard.